Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
I was bluffing, Owen. I think that you are bluffing right now.
Harry, what are you doing?
Well, what I'm doing, for the guy who likes to bluff, is I'm playing a little game called Am I Bluffing? Huh? Where is she?
Harry.
You want to play hardball? I can do that. Where is the girl?
What did you just do?
I put in one bullet, didn't I?
You put a live round in that gun.
Oh, yeah. There was like an 8% chance.
8%?
Wasn't it just 8?
8?
Yeah.
Who taught you
Maybe
math?
it's more. I don't know.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're live at 9:10 on June the 6th. I pointed this out to people at work. It's the 6th of the 6th, 16.
Yeah. I noticed that today when I was typing up stuff for the show.
Take the 1 out of the 16 and you've got 666, the devil, but the original number for the devil is 616. So you just take one of those sixes out of it and you've still got the devil. No matter what. It's sort of like it wasn't a good sign because I did point this out at work and work was horrible today. So I think it was actually living up.
Is it like the Satanists' bank holiday Monday? They get the day off.
I think it's in Sunderland. Once the sun comes out here, it just damages people's brains more so. And that's saying
Wait. People in Sunderland have brains?
Yeah, exactly. This is like Zombieland. I live a real Zombieland in Sunderland.
You must know the means. Picking that film, yeah.
Yeah, even Twinkies have more brains, and there's a shop that does sell Twinkies. So there are other cakes available, but still, they have much more brains than the people who live in this city.
And better cakes, varieties of cakes too.
Yeah, actually, because they're a bit too sickly. Anyway, we're not here to talk about confectionery or sickly sweets or anything like that.
I'd gladly sit here and talk for an hour about confectionery and stuff, but at the end of it, I would have to go out and buy, a bucket load of them because I would just be so hungry.
Yeah, because by the time we would finish, we would have diabetes. So it would be the Diabetes Podcast. The only podcast out there that can give you diabetes. Lovely.
No, I can just love the Monday Movie Show now with free diabetes.
Yeah, lovely. We are live. There's a speech bubble in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You can click on that and just chat along with us during this show. Give us your feedback on the films in the UK box office top 10, but mostly the films that we're reviewing this week, which are...
We have a collection of films, starting with the return of Shane Black as director, writer, everything pretty much on the film, The Nice Guys. We have a Brit drama with Me Before You, and we'll go over a couple of the films that we covered last week because there's this annoying thing that studios like to do where they release a film on a Monday, but it's actually for the following Friday. So we'll be covering quickly over Warcraft and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows.
Yeah, get ready for even more of them because The Conjuring 2 is doing that. It's opening previews on next Monday actually, so we'll miss it because the next show is going to be Sunday. But it's opening previews from the Monday, and Ghostbusters is doing exactly the same as well. And The Secret Life of Pets is actually opening on a Saturday.
It's literally pushing it to the very last day after the Friday sort of thing that they can do, isn't it, really?
Yeah, so
a Friday night midnight opening would be just taking the mickey too much.
Yeah, when The Conjuring officially opens, The Secret Life of Pets is actually opening the next day on the Saturday, because the week after that it doesn't want to go up against the other big release. It's just a big headache. They like to mess around with the schedule, so the show is a bit of all over the place, so you get the same movies reviewed in 2 weeks in a row. Good job it doesn't happen though with Blu-rays and DVDs, and on this week's show we're looking at these films.
The multi-award winning The Revenant. We have the unfortunately not award winning, and we'll get to that when we review that, with Concussion. We have Anthony Hopkins starring in a film Go With Me. We have a true story this week in The 33, and we have horror with Intruders.
Yep, and it's TV Movie of the Week, the overall Movie of the Week, the Blu-ray DVD Top 10, as I alluded to the UK Box Office Top 10, but kick things off as we normally do with the news.
Yep, starting off with a couple of pieces that I've got, a couple of bits of casting news on some fairly big sequels. The first one being, according to Deadline, John Boyega has been added to the cast of the Pacific Rim sequel. He will be starring in the film. They've confirmed that the role will be the son of Stacker Pentecost, which is the character played in the first film by Idris Elba.
Yeah. He's supposed to be playing the lead character as well, so taking over from... I can't remember his name.
From Sons of Anarchy, yeah. Charlie... I can't think of his
Charlie
name.
Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam. I was going to say Huffman, but it's not Huffman, because that's someone else completely.
We got there, both of us,
yeah.
But yeah, Charlie Hunnam taking over from that. So
he'll probably be sort of bumped up to the aging character, that remains from the first film, to have that sort of continuity thing, but he won't be probably fighting in it.
So there's no indication if Hunnam is actually returning.
No.
John Boyega's been cast in the film as Idris Elba's character's son, but there's no indication that Idris Elba is actually returning as well.
No. It's been directed by Stephen S. DeKnight, so it's not being directed by Guillermo del Toro. He's just staying on as producer.
Yeah, he's producing it, and I think he's had a hand in writing it as well, so that's the case from that. So... Okay, handing it off pretty much to a whole new team.
Yeah, I hope that Ron Perlman's going to return, because it was set up for him to return.
He has to return.
Yeah, he's got to. I mean, and Guillermo del Toro will rope him in, even if it's for like a 5-minute cameo. He'll make an appearance somewhere.
Yeah, and Bern Gorman has to return as well.
Yeah,
I thought Bern Gorman was actually fine in the film. So,
and
yeah,
Charlie Day with him. The two of them had a great kind of tete-a-tete, rapport on the screen, and they were good sort of comedy reaction, but also quite importantly they were kind of the deliverers of the plot and of sort of the dialogue that explained a lot of things.
They were sort of like the Jeff Goldblum of the Independence Day kind of thing. So you need them two to return for the sequel.
The brainy one.
Well, I think I'm giving a tad too much credit to Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, okay. The other piece of news is casting on another sequel, Transformers, which has been given the title of the fifth movie, Transformers: The Last Knight. Knight with a K, has added Anthony Hopkins. So Anthony Hopkins will be in the movie, or making an appearance of some sort in the movie. It's not been confirmed yet what his role will be. Is he going to be on screen, do you think? No, I think he's probably going to be a voice of either a Transformer or one of the Decepticons or something. He's got that kind of voice. He's got a good voice for that sort of thing.
So it's a quadrilogy, which is 4. So it's a pentatrilogy, isn't it? Which is 5.
Well, but they're doing more, aren't they? So it's going to be it's a saga.
Released,
isn't it a saga when it comes to 4?
Yeah, when the fifth one is released, it's going to be called a pentatrilogy. I actually quite like that, to be honest. Pentatrilogy's got a ring to it. I know Josh Duhamel has been announced as being in the film as well.
Yeah,
so
he's coming back. And Mark Wahlberg is coming back as well.
And it's only rumoured that the annoying Shia LaBeouf might actually be cropping up in the film somewhere.
I would say maybe have him in it. He doesn't have to have a big part. Just have him have continuity. The continuity cameo.
He's going to be passing in the background because his latest exploit or thing that he's actually doing at the moment is trekking across America. Because he's got like many screws loose in his brain, and he's done an art installation stunt. He's done a thing where he just took phone calls for 48 hours. He sat in a theatre watching all of his films back to back to back to back to back, kind of thing.
That'll do it for you.
Yeah, his latest stunt is to walk across the entirety of America. So maybe you'll just see him walking across in the background while they're shooting a scene in America.
They should have had him in that film with Robert Redford and Nick Nolte doing the Appalachian Trail.
No, they're just walking through that film, and then he crosses paths with Reese Witherspoon in Wild, and then he's just crossing paths with other actors and actresses who are doing like lone kind of movies.
Can you just see this in 30 years, 40 years of the Shia LaBeouf story, when he's wandering through the countryside, and this will be it. That'll be the story.
He's the ultimate Easter egg. He's sort of like taken over from the Kevin Bacon. And so this one was in this one with Shia LaBeouf. It's the Shia LaBeouf number instead of the Kevin Bacon number.
Dear.
On to more news. Elizabeth Banks has confirmed she will not direct Pitch Perfect 3. She's actually fully stepping away from the series entirely, so she's not going to be in the film, she's not going to write it, she's not going to direct it. The film has also had its release date pushed back from its original July 21st, 2017 to December the 22nd, 2017. So in the grubby little pits of a Star Wars movie.
It'll be they'll release it as the what was it they called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. It was like alternative programming sort of thing.
Yeah.
As the alternate option to a big movie. And the thing is, I still haven't seen Pitch Perfect 2 yet.
It's a bit of a pitch slap in the face.
There with the puns. That's,
I know.
We're this 10 minutes into the show.
So what?
Okay.
But it was nowhere near Pitch Perfect, to be honest.
No, I mean I liked the first one. I'm surprised how much I liked the first one, but I haven't seen the second one yet. I just haven't got around to it, and I will eventually, but I just haven't yet.
When it's shown on something like Channel 4, something like that. Yeah, because it eventually is going to appear on a terrestrial, well, a not terrestrial channel, a Freeview channel now. But honestly, it's nothing to shout home about. It's a movie that heavily relies on jokes that it's told before and just doesn't tell them very well, to be honest. Okay. So it's a rehash.
Colour me not excited for that then.
Yep, the latest video game to get to... I do this every single week. There's a video game that gets announced to be turned into a movie every single week.
Let me guess. So we've got Warcraft we're covering a bit last week and this week. There is Tetris, which is coming out. What other games are there? Is it like a big game, or is it just a little like a puzzle game thing?
Yeah, this one actually will work.
We're not getting like Candy Crush the movie or something.
No, it's not. But Ubisoft have confirmed that the next game franchise to be turned into a movie will be The Division.
Okay. Well, is that
star in it?
Tom Clancy?
Yeah, Tom Clancy's The Division. Yeah, the game that was released a couple of months ago.
That's good. I mean, the thing is there's like the interesting thing about the Tom Clancy games and movies, because you have the whole thing of the Jack Ryan movies, which are now being made into a TV series by, I think it's Amazon, and you have in the couple of the films, there was in Clear and Present Danger, and in Sum of All Fears, you had a character by the name of Clark, who was played by William Dafoe in Clear and Present Danger, and then played by Lee Schreiber in Sum of All Fears. And that character was in Rainbow Six. The game Rainbow Six is the character that leads the Rainbow Six thing. I've just had a box fall over. So if you heard that loud thud, that's what that was.
Box trying to get the limelight.
Yeah. But that's I mean, so the games are kind of connected in with the films, vice versa. Anyway, they have that continuity because they're characters from the books that he's had. So to be doing I expect there'll probably be a character in that. It may even be the same character, for all I know, that's in that will be then brought to the screen in the film.
Well, The Division was the first game from Ubisoft that wasn't actually written by Tom Clancy. It's just that every single game they're releasing of that ilk has got the Tom Clancy's name because they've got the Tom Clancy's names right to it. So they attach it to the Rainbow Six games, even though Rainbow Six Siege wasn't called Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, and they actually didn't use Tom Clancy's name in the end for The Division. It's just called The Division. It's not called Tom Clancy's The Division. But it's a good idea to actually turn it into a TV series or a movie. There was a 20-minute short that was released alongside the game itself. It's on Amazon. I watched it in 4K, and it sort of like gives you a feeling of what a low-budget movie would be like. Mm-hmm. So with obviously Ubisoft wanting to make a lot of films from their franchises, this is the second movie that Jake Gyllenhaal have starred in from Ubisoft's franchises, because he did The Prince of Persia. So I think it's a good idea to turn it into a film because it's got that filmic kind of feel to it. And Jake Gyllenhaal, you might as well have gone for a big actor, and they've done that. Yeah, so, and one who can pull off both drama and action. Yeah. The sequel to Sicario has landed its director. I've got this written down weirdly, and it's just the way I'm reading it out. Denis Villeneuve, he passed on the script, and he passed on the sequel itself as well. And so Stefano Solamia is set to direct. The film will also see Emily Blunt not play her character in it. She's decided to step away from the project, so the movie will centre around Benicio del Toro's character.
Okay, that's interesting, because you take a character that's, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a character who is kind of a antagonistic, shall we say. No, it's kind of trying to think of the right word, but he either is or isn't the bad guy, isn't a good guy. It's very ambiguous. That's the word I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So to take him and be kind of the one it centers around, that's an interesting move. I guess we'll see how it works out. There is definitely a lot to that character that has the potential, but it's going to be a case of it's going to have to be well written.
Yeah. Last week it was confirmed that Star Wars Rogue One has undergone some reshoots. This week, Variety are now reporting that part of the reason includes a cameo of a young Han Solo. So it was announced that Alden Ehrenreich, Ehrenreich.
I think it's a German.
Whatever his last
descendant.
name is, we'll probably find out soon. There'll be a YouTube video which tells you how to pronounce it properly. But Alden Ehrenreich, we'll just say it as that for now. It was confirmed that he's going to be playing Han Solo. So it is now rumoured that the reason why there was a reshoot, well, partly a reason why there was a reshoot for Rogue One, was to include a scene involving a young Han Solo.
I wonder if they'll get Peter Mayhew in it as well to be playing Chewbacca.
I don't know, maybe.
But I mean, it's good. I think it's fine them doing this. I think it's a bad thing that they're going and adding it in late like that, because then that's obviously the whole thing of one of the things that people have hated about. You have things like the Avengers set up, and you have the introduction of the characters in small cameos between them, is that the cameos feel edged in. And if they're doing that with this, if they don't do it well, it's going to feel exactly the same thing, and people are going to be annoyed by it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they're doing and what other reasons why they decided to do some reshoots. Maybe weren't happy with a few scenes.
Well, supposedly there was also I've seen on places but not confirmed that the studio found it to be a bit too dark and wanted it to be a bit more cheerful, and because it supposedly leads right up to A New Hope. And if you watch them back to back, the tone shift is quite dramatic between the two of them.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if we mentioned this regarding Dylan O'Brien and the Maze Runner, and we did mention it last week that it was pushed back by a year, pretty much so. But I did find out that the reason why it was his accident was a car crash.
Yeah, I did say that I saw something about it being a car crash, that he was hit or injured in a car collision or something.
It's now been confirmed that it was a car crash, that he was involved in the shooting of the latest Maze Runner film. So that was the reason why it was delayed. I didn't have that written down. I just remembered about that. I did see that it was confirmed that it was a car crash. So let's hope he's got a speedy recovery, and they get shooting the rest of the film for the series to continue or finish.
I think it's the conclusion. I think it's the last one. I don't think they're splitting the last one into two films as they have done with other ones.
Good, well done for them to do that.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, possibly. They'll probably announce, going, you know what, we've got this amount of time now, let's split it. Two more pieces of news. I always end off on a bit of a silly piece of news, but prior to that, Slash Films are reporting the next 80s movie to be given the remake treatment is Splash.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Splash.
No. No.
And final piece of news, this is a silly one, and when I read this, I just couldn't believe this is actually happening, and what was he doing when he thought this was a good idea. But Zach Braff, so people might know him from his particular comedy TV series, has announced that a hospital set horror movie based on a character that J.D. wrote called Dr. Acula is going to be made into a full movie. So can you remember that episode when he created Dr. Acula?
Not really. Even though I do have the box set, but I haven't watched it for a long time.
Yeah,
that's a fall from grace, really. Because Zach Braff did some fantastic thing with like Garden State, the film he wrote and directed and starred in after finishing Scrubs, and it's a fantastic drama, and he needs to work on that kind of stuff more because he's good at that.
Yep, Dr. Acula a little skit that was part of an episode of Scrubs is being turned into a full-length film.
Probably for kids.
But yeah, that's it for the news. I have to end it off on the silliest bit of news. So we'll go into the UK box office top 10.
Starting at number 10 with a film. We were talking about this before the show because I've never even heard of it. At number 10, Minuscule Valley of the Lost Ants.
Yeah, we hadn't reviewed this last week because it was a movie that was not on our radar. We didn't even know about this movie, and I was intrigued when I saw the top 10 by it, and the fact that it was only opened up on 74 sites, and a movie that nobody had a clue about. And it's a French-Belgian movie, which is it's a nearly silent movie. You've got a musical score, so it's sort of like when you used to go at the cinemas in the 1900s up to about the 1920s, before talkies became like the norm. You got movies that played. There was a woman who played a piano alongside the movie itself. Well, this is not that basic, but it is a sort of like a score over the top of a live action / animated film centered around a ladybird who teams up with a group of black ants to try and stop this group of red ants from stealing sugar that's left behind by a couple whose the wife has gone into labour. So it's a very silly, simple, basic story, and it's the kind of thing that only the French and the people in Belgium can actually pull off. If you try to do that kind of movie in English, or an English kind of set, you'll just never be able to succeed, because the French are brilliant at bringing charm to these kind of films. You look at things like A Monster in Paris and Belleville Rendezvous. It's movies that you just never would get made in any country, let alone you wouldn't even get it made in Japan by Studio Ghibli or companies like that. And it's fascinating. It's a fascinating movie. It's on for an hour and a half, but there are so many little pockets of humour throughout the film. You'll find yourself just giggling at the mannerisms and the reactions of the ladybirds and the ants. The fact that they speak to each other in sort of like, if you watch programs from like the 60s and 70s, kids programs, you just had them making noises, and that's how they speak to each other, just via little noises and nuances, and you pick all that kind of stuff up, and it is really funny. And it's not. It does a lot of comedies. It shows up a lot of comedies, to be honest. So if you can find it in any cinema, which you might have a slight struggle in being able to find it outside of art house cinemas, but if you can find it, and if you want to watch something a little bit different, then Minuscule Valley of the Ants is definitely going to tickle your funny bone a little bit.
Okay, number 9 is the secret cinema screening of 28 Days Later. So
this is the last week will be in the top 10 because it's finished its 7-week run. Yeah,
we don't really go over that much. Number 8 is Love and Friendship.
Yeah, we haven't seen Love and Friendship.
No.
Again, it was a movie that sort of like skipped us by a little bit.
It did get a very, very quick limited release. That I did try to see it, but unfortunately it was around and then just disappeared in the flash.
Yeah, it's based on a Jane Austen film called Lady Susan. It's directed by Whit Stillman, and it stars Kate Beckinsale, and critics are absolutely falling in love with this movie. It's got an 87 Metascore on IMDb, so that's pretty high for a film. And yeah, it's supposedly very like easy to watch because it's a U-rated movie at an hour and a half. And so you very, very rarely see those kind of dramas like that, comedy dramas that are U-rated at an hour and a half. And so we're slightly intrigued by seeing this film.
Yeah, if it pops up again, I will try and see it. But it seems to have been a very quick, blink and you miss it release.
Yeah, 80 sites.
Yeah. Number 7 is Bad Neighbours 2.
Yeah, which I've finally seen. So you're probably going, yeah, he has actually finally seen it.
Yeah. Did you laugh? Did it get laughs out of you?
I think I laughed. I think it was like 3 times, but one of them was a snigger.
Okay.
So I laughed.
I'm pretty sure that one of them will have been a moment involving a manager running away and completely collapsing a desk in an office.
That was the snigger. So I did laugh a couple of times, but like I said, one of them was a snigger, so that was twice as many laughter as I did in the first one.
Yeah.
The only scene I did laugh was right near to the end of the film itself. It's not as offensive as the first film, because at least what the director has decided to do is set it around a sorority house rather than another frat house, because it could have just been another frat house has moved in alongside Seth Rogen's characters, and so causing mayhem again. And instead of doing that, they've gone with a sorority house instead. And as a matter of fact, they're even more nasty than what the frat house is, and it's mentioned a few times in the film. They are more devious, considering they're thicker, and that. But they are more devious with the kind of things that they come up with, robbing them and selling their stuff on the lawn and things like that. And so it got, like I said, a couple of giggles from me, a snigger. But yeah, it's still not like comedy material. Like the Minuscule Valley of the Lost Hands got much more out of me comedy-wise than Bad Neighbours 2. But like I said, it's not offensive. It's not going to go out for like the really badly gross out humour. There's two scenes that might just fall into that category. One involving part of the body that shouldn't have been revealed, and another one right at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
And so that's the only two times where it sort of like looks at the across the precipice of like gross out humour, but then just reels itself back. So, and it reuses the airbag joke.
Yeah, but it does something different with it slightly.
Yeah, so like I said, it's passable. It's passable.
Captain America Civil War is at number 6.
We said absolutely everything. We kind of made Captain America Civil War. £35 million taken, should reach around about £37-38 million before it leaves the top 10. It's done really good for itself.
Yep. Jungle Book is at number 5.
42 million, and who would have thought that?
Yeah.
Disney's live action retelling of their films are actually doing really well for them.
It's done really well with kids because that's kind of its target audience, but the fact is that there's been a lot of families going to see it with kids, not just kids on their own. And I mean, even it's a PG, so kids can pretty much go and see it without parents. And yeah, it's a film that families are going to and enjoying. I think that's the magic of it, because why it's doing well. Because again, like even though we said Love and Friendship as a U-rated film, there aren't many films that are below the 12 rating that are good for a family viewing. And this is one of them.
Yeah.
Money Monster is at number 4.
It's a movie that should have been better than By the Books, but it is just exactly like that. You could replace Julie Roberts and George Clooney's characters in the film with pretty much anybody. It's just I think they seem to coast way too much in the film itself. It just feels like they weren't latching on with the characters, and what they were bringing to the forefront was just pretty much sort of like for a paycheck. And so those characters you could just easily pick out and just exchange. Jack O'Connell, though, he saves the film because I think his performance is much better than the film itself. And so when you've got a performance like that, you think to yourself, what are you doing? Why are you pushing yourself so hard when the rest of the film just seems to want to go for very straight down the line kind of stuff? And we've seen better from Jodie Foster. She's been in thrillers where it does actually feel like a thriller. And this one just never feels like a thriller at all. It feels like a more upmarket, made-for-TV movie.
It feels very much kind of like it's it does feel very much scripted rather than being, a real situation of somebody holding hostages and having to go on the fly sort of thing. It does feel very much as if it's a planned out, and there's no sort of spontaneity feeling to it, which is a problem.
Yeah, it just needed something to wake itself up. Not just wake the audience up, it needed to wake itself up by doing something a bit dramatic, and it just never does that.
Angry Birds is at 3.
Do you want to go over it because you've finally seen it?
Yeah, I have, and I gotta admit, I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would, and I was looking forward to it because the trailer made me laugh, and I love some of the idea. The thing is, it's got that whole sort of ingenuity going through it at parts. It's not got the ingenuity to the level of like a Pixar film, but there are moments in it where there are ideas that made me giggle and made me laugh and smile, and there's characters in it that are well developed, and there's humour in the dialogue as well as on-screen things. So it wasn't a fully 5-star thing that should be Oscar nominated for animation. It maybe would be good for sort of animation in technical sort of qualities. The animation is pretty good, but it's overall fun, and I enjoyed it, and I did enjoy it, and to a point that it easily passed the 6 laugh mark for me in the first kind of half hour. There's an opening scene that just had me laughing quite a bit, and it just set up the tone of the film, and okay, right, I know this is what it's going to be like, because obviously it's based on the game, and you wonder, has it got enough in it to actually stretch it out to a feature, and it manages to do it fairly well.
It's no offense to it, but it's a very straight down the line 3-star kind of film. It's a movie that
there's nothing wrong with that, but it's
it never pushes into sort of like the upper echelons, but it never like languishes into the realms of things like Top Cat or things like that. And so it knows what it wants to be. It wants to be an entertaining 90-minute family-friendly kind of comedy kids film, and that's exactly what it does. It does exactly what it says on the tin.
Josh Gad is definitely one of the saving graces of the film at points, though.
Yeah.
So number 2 is Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah, it might have surprised a lot of people that it's only gone in at number 2 when they would have expected it to actually shoot in at number 1, but it's sort of like a good thing, because then it shows sort of like the studios that you need to be much more careful when you create sequels to your films. James Bobbin has had a really good past of creating sort of like family adventure movies, but this just lacks a lot. Mia Wasikowska, she's okay as Alice, but everything else apart from Sacha Baron Cohen is just a bit of a damp squib. Johnny Depp just plays a very moping Mad Hatter, and you just don't want to hear that. I know his character is really annoying, but you want to see him a bit more upbeat. And just Helena Bonham Carter as the Queen of Hearts, she's more annoying in the film, because you just see the emphasis on the annoyance of her character and how she actually became the way she is. It has too many story strands. It just feels like it's like multiple scenes just stitched together, so it feels a much messy film. And like I said, the only time when the movie it becomes watchable, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is when Sacha Baron Cohen's on screen, because I can't stand him. I find him really annoying. Yet I felt like he was made to play time. It's just the way his character was actually moving around, and the quips and things like that. He was made to play that character, and so he just feels, again, lost in a movie that's much more weaker than what his character is.
Yep. So the number 1 movie is X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, it's a bit of a damp squib, this movie. It's unfortunate as well, because the first 2 parts of the second trilogy in the X-Men series were actually really strong and really good. I'm sorry, I'm keep on sort of like pausing a little bit because I'm trying to eat a sweet. I've got a bit of a cold, so I'm trying my best not to actually cough and splurt into the mic. But yeah, it's a bit of a damp squib. Everything involved just feels like I said with Alice Through the Looking Glass, little scenes that are stitched together, but just does not have any coherence to run throughout it. So even the Quicksilver stuff, which made an impact in the previous film, just feels like it's a rehash of just thinking, oh, we'll do it one better, when in fact, actually, you've made it worse. So everything involved is just lacking. It doesn't feel like anybody is interested in what they're doing anymore. And Oscar Isaacs as Apocalypse is really bad. Really, really bad. And just very, like, cardboard and cartoony. It just doesn't fit the film.
I'm not going to say anything more. I just agree with that. I mean, my view on it was just very, very lackluster and disappointing, and it just nothing really happens for the first majority of the film, the first hour of the film.
Yeah, so it's just unfortunate because it took the Mickey out of a trilogy in the film itself, when in fact it's taken the Mickey out of itself twice. So well done for making the third in the trilogy twice bad. On to new releases of the week then.
The Nice Guys. So it's written and directed by Shane Black, who last directed Iron Man 3, but before that did a film that's not so well known called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which also starred Robert Downey Jr. You have in this film, you have a similar kind of story about a private eye played by Ryan Gosling, and you have a guy played by Russell Crowe, who's basically kind of like a muscle guy, the muscle guy, the guy that you send round to someone to beat them up if they're giving you problems. This is set in the 1970s in Los Angeles, and the two of them end up crossing paths when Russell Crowe's character is hired by a girl to beat up the guy who she says is inquiring about her, asking questions and such, and is harassing her, which turns out to be Ryan Gosling's PI. Here's a clip.
You're a private investigator?
Look, there's $20 in there, all right? Just take it.
No, I'm not here for that, I told you.
You and an old hired me.
Yeah. If we can do this the easy way, we can do it the
Glenn.
hard way. What?
Lily Glenn, 2 ends. Old lady hired me to find her niece on Tuesday.
You just gave up your plan.
I made a discretionary revelation.
No, you just gave her up. I asked you one simple question. You gave me all the
I
information.
thought that's what you wanted.
What? Now, I'm very sorry that you didn't get the message.
I get it, I dig it.
What about now? Give me your left arm.
Huh?
Your left arm. Give me your left arm. This one.
No!
Yeah, come on.
No! No!
Right, look, when you're talking to your doctor, just tell him you have a spiral fracture of the left radius.
No! No!
Deep breath. You mind if I have an apple?
So you have this whole thing of the two of them ending up then at one point they realise their kind of paths are crossing because they're both dealing with things they're looking into, and they end up teaming up and going after this whole thing. And it's to go into it any more than that would be spoilerish, but it's a film that has these kind of a lot of these kind of classic genre things of the the PI movie, that sort of thing, the thriller, that going on. You have the whole thing of them looking into things and people trying to stop them and that sort of thing happening, and the buddies cop movie thing of the two buddies who are not particularly the best match, but they end up sort of working together, and it's kind of oddly works for them at times and against them at other times, and it's got those qualities to it. And it's very much, if you know Shane Black's style of writing and his humour, it's all in there as well. It's got the same kind of thing like that. It is very much also in some parts and to a degree a little bit of a retread of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, because that wasn't a big successful film at the time, but it's become a cult film now, and it's very similar in that, but instead of it just becoming very much a repeat of that, it's a nice kind of, it goes over a lot of the similar things. If you know that kind of story element, you'll start to predict things that are happening and see the sort of patterns of how the story is developing. But that doesn't matter, because it has at the centre of it this great sort of feel of the style of it, and the humour is constant throughout. I was laughing consistently from beginning to end, and so was the audience that I saw the film with. And I saw this a little while ago in a preview before it came out, and you have this the chemistry between the two of them, but also you have in the film a young girl played by Angeris Rice, who plays Ryan Gosling's daughter in the film, and the relationship, the three of them, and the chemistry on screen between the three of them. She's this kid who, her dad's a PI, so of course she ends up trying to be a PI, even though as much he's trying to stop her and everything, and she gets mixed in the middle of things and stuff, and it's all kind of stuff that you've seen before, but it manages to be just refreshingly funny, honest. The performances are great there, the chemistry is good. Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling do really work well together, despite the fact that they're playing characters that are at odds for each other most of the time, and it's a fun 70s feel to it. It's got that noir feel to it. It's got the style of the 70s down perfectly. There's some great shots that give you the feel of like one of these films you watch from the 70s, the kind of old I'm trying to think of the name of it, but there's I think it's Booker or something like that, is a Burt Reynolds film. It's got that kind of a feel to it of the 70s Los Angeles. That's it's dark when it's at night, but it's all really well lit up, and it shows it. I don't know as well. I wonder or not if it was shot in digital or shot in film, because it does have that feel to it. So I wouldn't be surprised to learn that it's shot in film, but I think it's digital, and it manages to get that feel to it. So it's an all-round fun film that I really, really enjoyed. And while I don't necessarily think it's the best film-wise, as a technically done as a film, I think come the end of the year it might be in my sort of towards the end of my top 10 films, because I really, really loved it. I had fun with it and I really engaged with it.
And I've not seen it because I was put off majorly by the trailer. I didn't like the trailer. So what I've been hearing though is, I think the trailer is sort of like indicative of what the film is actually like.
It is.
So if you didn't get along with the trailer, you might actually struggle with the film itself.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just maybe the feel, because the trailer does very kind of cleverly put in that feel, that vibe of the 70s, but it doesn't have any of the, because you watch it and you watch that trailer and you think, oh, it's just a comedy. It's not just a comedy. It has a couple of action sequences. It has fights in it. It has shootouts in it. It goes that extra step and actually goes into proper thriller territory at times. It has a plot which is, while a little bit convoluted, is kind of a good sort of conspiracy thriller thing. So it has a lot more sort of levels to it than the trailer would suggest.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it, to be honest. So it might be a bit of a pass for me, and waiting for it to come out on Blu-ray and DVD rather than me see it at the cinema, because I think that might be the only way I get to see it. It's just I didn't feel like I wanted to go to the cinema to go and see it. I know some weeks there are movies like that, but I have to go and see it for review purposes because I'm the one who's reviewing it. But because of the fact that you're already seeing this film in preview screening anyway, it was a good job that you were reviewing it, because I don't think I would have actually had I don't think the urge to go and see it, to be honest.
Yeah, and instead you ended up going to see one of those films that you wouldn't probably normally see, which is
Me Before You. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie. It is one of those kind of things. Actually, if you've seen any movie by Nicholas Sparks or anything like The Fault in Our Stars or movies like that, you pretty much know exactly what's going to happen in Me Before You. It's directed by Thea Sharrock, and it's based on a book of exactly the same name, and it's a very simple story. It centers around Emily Clark's character, who plays Lou. She is sort of like a really happy-go-lucky kind of person. She is vibrant. She is just joyful all the time. She works in a small little place, a little tea shop. She's got a boyfriend. She's not really happy with the boyfriend. She's not really happy with the job. Then on the polar opposite side of things, you've got Will, who's played by Sam Claflin. Yeah, him. He was in one
Hunger
of those
Games.
teen movies.
He's in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, he was in the Hunger Games. Sam Claflin. Tongue-tied. Hate that name. But yeah, you've got him. He plays Will. Now, he's a really rich person, but he's involved in a car accident, which makes him paraplegic. He can no longer get out of the wheelchair, and so he's always constantly feeling sorry for himself. And so his parents decide to sort of like hire a nanny in a way. Lo and behold, this is the kind of job that Lou wants to do instead of what she's doing. So she takes the job and pretty much is forced to actually do it. Here's a clip.
I just thought I'd see if I could fix some of these. Or, if you wanted to get new ones, I could go into town at lunchtime. Or we could both go.
Do you know what, Louisa? Me smashing those photographs was not an accident.
Sorry. I didn't think.
You thought you knew best. Well, I don't want those pictures staring at me every time I'm stuck in bed waiting for someone to bloody get me out again, okay?
I wasn't going to fix the one of Alicia. I'm not that stupid.
Spare me the cod psychology. Just go and raid your grandma's wardrobe or whatever it is you do when you're not making tea.
You don't have to be an arse. Your friend deserved it. I'm just trying to do my job as best I can. So it would be really nice if you didn't try and make my life as miserable as you apparently make everyone else's.
And what if I said I didn't want you here?
I'm not employed by you. I'm employed by your mother. So unless she says she doesn't want me here anymore, I'm staying. Not because I care about you or particularly enjoy your company, but because I need the money. I really need the money.
Just put them in the drawer.
So yeah, you can hear that Will just really hates life. He's such a downer, and Lou, even though she was sort of like getting onto him there, you can hear the smiles right at the start of it, and she's pretty much like that throughout the film. And the film itself is by the numbers, absolutely by the numbers. You've heard us multiple times saying about movies that have a checklist. They go, yep, we've got this in the film, we've got that in the film. This is exactly one of those films, to the T. It makes sure that it's got the dramatic scene. It makes sure it's got the happy scene. It makes sure it's got the conflict between the two characters, as you heard in that clip there. It makes sure it's got the resolute kind of scene. It makes sure it's got the two characters falling in love with each other. It makes sure that it's got the scene where the parents argue against what he's actually doing. It makes sure it's got a holiday kind of scene. It just follows absolutely everything by the T. And it makes the movie feel so normal that when you walk out the cinema, you've pretty much forgotten what you've seen, because the film itself is so basic and so normal that it just becomes very forgetful. There isn't anything in there to make you go, oh, I remember that scene from the film. Oh, I remember when she did that, or they did that. You never do that. You just think to yourself, that was alright. And that's about the best you're going to get from Me Before You. Very basic, very by the numbers kind of drama that just is, alright.
Okay, I won't be seeing that probably, I don't think, because I probably won't have time when other things are coming out now. But I was not entirely looking forward to it, to be honest, either. So
yeah, like I said, if you've seen a Nicholas Sparks film, any Nicholas Sparks film, if you've read a synopsis for a Nicholas Sparks film, if you've seen any romantic drama released in the last 50 years, you've pretty much seen this. It just never attempts, not even attempts to try and do some, unlike with A Fault with Our Stars, where it makes the film a little bit more interesting because you do feel for the characters themselves. In this one, because Will goes through exactly the same situations as a lot of people do when they have an accident like that, feels really sorry for himself, and because he's got all this money, he's allowed to feel really sorry for himself. You just think, shut up, you idiot. There are people who are actually born disabled, and you've just become disabled in a car crash. They're not moping as much as you're doing. So what makes you such a special case?
It sounds like you should watch again instead of that. Is it The Untouchables? The French movie with the similar kind of story?
Yeah, definitely watch that if you want to see a movie about a relationship between somebody who's disabled and somebody who's sort of like looking after them. Watch that one instead. It's a much better film than this mundane movie.
Okay, so we've got also the couple other films, but we did go through a proper review last week because they were both released on the Monday, but they are technically out this weekend, and that is Warcraft and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Yeah. So, I mean, you covered Warcraft last week, so I'll go over that quickly, and basically, cause my view on it is, because Duncan Jones is directing it, it is based on the World of Warcraft role-player online game, and it's surprisingly a really enjoyable fantasy film. It is kind of an average, it's not a 5-star film, it's not a 1-star film, it's definitely not, it's fairly in the middle, but it's one of those things that the fantasy genre is, I've always seen it as one of the hardest genres to actually get right on the screen without it becoming really cheesy, really tacky, and just becoming a laughable mess. And it doesn't. It manages to be a good sort of fairly decent story, fairly good performances, and nice effects. But it has one of those things that obviously as soon as you start watching it, at the opening you have big effect sequences, big sort of virtual worlds that have been created, and that's the kind of thing you have with it. So if you're not into that sort of thing, you won't like it. But if you like that sort of thing, it is worth seeing and seeking out, even though it's based on a video game. Especially Duncan Jones does a good job of not only doing a film in fantasy, but a film that's based on a game, which is impressive that it comes out as being as solidly entertaining as this does. I really had fun with it, got into it, and of the two of them, that and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, I definitely advise Warcraft over that, because it's a much more better, serious film.
Yeah, the thing is, Warcraft hasn't opened in America yet. Still hasn't opened up in America yet. It opens up on this Friday, coming up in America. So we've actually got a good 10-year head start over America, and it's predicted to make around about $35 million, which, if that's the case, it'll be exactly the same amount as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows made. But the Warcraft movie's got a bigger budget. It's around about 160 million, whereas Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is 135 million. But I see the drop-off of Turtles to be a bit more than it will be for Warcraft. I think Warcraft, it won't stay very long in the charts, but I think it might have a bit more longevity there because of the fact that there are fans of the game itself, and so there'll be more fans who might want to see it more than once, who really latched onto the film, because Duncan Jones did do a good job of it. He did create the characters very well. They look like a lot of the orcs and the elves and humans and wizards from the World of Warcraft series, including Hearthstone as well. And he did even add a few little in-jokes there for fans of the whole universe. So he carefully actually added little bits and bobs here to appease to everybody. And like Andrew said there, it's not a movie that's going to just absolutely blow your mind, but the fantasy genre is such a hard genre to do it. These kind of films stand out above the horrible movies like Seventh Son and stuff like that, because they're just dogs' dinners of movies compared to Warcraft.
Yeah, and I mean, given the choice as well, the two of them, of which one I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing further films, definitely I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next in the Warcraft films than I am with another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film.
But the unfortunate thing, by the looks of things, it's probably going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which gets the third film.
Yeah.
Out of the Shadows is just terrible. I thought the first one was bad, but not like really bad. This one is just awful. It's just it takes the original like cartoon from the 80s and just absolutely kills it. It over-sexualizes April O'Neil, which she was never like that as a character at all. It makes Casey Jones an absolute wimp, and that's not what he was like. He was a very dark character. Yes, the Turtles are sarcastic and bro-like, and they even actually shorten the names because they believe that their full names are too long. So it dumbs down the names of the characters in the film as well. It makes Baxter Stockman, giving it to Tyler Perry, just absolutely awful. Baxter Stockman was turned into a fly pretty much as soon as you saw him. He was in like half an episode in the cartoon and then turned into a fly. Obviously that was never going to happen in here, but he was supposedly responsible for Bebop and Rocksteady. Really? And then you got Krang, who was just an annoying pulse of brain, constantly getting thumped into that stupid massive suit that he was on there, rather than him actually creating the suit, which he did in the cartoons as well. And Shredder never actually becoming Shredder. He's just some guy who looks like he's got a few kitchen knives from his parents' kitchen and just stuck them onto a glove going, "Look at me, I'm Freddy Krueger." It's an awful mess of a film.
Yeah, the only good things I've heard about it is from, I think, more kind of the apologists who remember the nostalgia of Turtles and seeing it and going, oh yeah, it's fun, it's stupid, but it's fun action, and it has got some action in it. But honestly, I sat through it and I honestly just could not wait for it to end. I was just, it's not that I was bored, I just sat there and I'm like, yeah, okay, it made me more than, I mean, it did make me laugh. I'll say that the one saving grace for it is that it had some jokes in it and made me laugh, but I sighed more than I laughed.
Yeah, and the annoying thing is, for me anyway, is the fact that the director, Dave Green, he did Earth to Echo, which is sort of like, it harkens back to the 80s kind of film, whereas this one, it's produced by, executive produced by Michael Bay. He's directed the film, he's not produced it. And it does the very typical Michael Bay kind of movie where all of this big action stuff is happening and nobody in the city actually cares. They see this huge massive technodrome thing getting built in the sky, yet there's no reaction from the public down on the ground. It just, what? Really? Yeah, no, it's awful. And also another movie that opened up, because it's the first time it got an English language one, I'm sorry that I'm having to mention it. It's a Studio Ghibli film, Only Yesterday, directed by Isao Takahata. It's the only reason why I mention it is because it's part of a Ghibli season that's happening at the moment throughout cinemas across the country, and it's the first time it's actually had an English language soundtrack put on it. Dev Patel plays one of the characters in the film itself, so if you want to actually see it in the English language, boo on you, you should actually watch it in the original Japanese with subtitles. Select cinemas are showing it and definitely needs to be seen because it's a fantastic film, and I will be reviewing the final Ghibli film on next week's show. That's the Ghibli stuff over with. We'll be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD section, so he's an ad.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And we're back with this week's home release section. We will go over the charts of the DVD and Blu-ray combined top 10, and then a look at these new releases.
Yeah, Alexandra Gonzalez Inarritu directs Leonardo DiCaprio in sort of like brutal drama with The Revenant, then Will Smith in Concussion, then we have a small little thriller with Go With Me, mining drama with The 33, and horror film Intruders.
As well as that, of course, we'll have a clip at the end of the show to set up something for next week, and we'll have a look at some TV movies, and then finally we'll have our movies of the week, where we'll pick out which ones we think are best and which ones you should avoid, and there are potentially some this week. But before that, as I said, DVD and Blu-ray top 10.
So number 10 is Daddy's Home.
Yeah, which I enjoyed, you didn't. I thought it was a good sort of nice to see the pairing of Wahlberg and Ferrell again. The two of them, I think, have a good rapport on screen, and I thought it was funny and had some, good laughs in it. So I didn't have a problem with it. I was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was pants. And number 9 is The Big Short,
which is a really, really good film. One of my favourites of the sort of the award season films, with some great performances. Steve Carell is fantastic in it. It's got lots of humour, and it's one of these films that, even though it does get technical, it never gets technical to a point that you start to switch off and you get bored. It dumbs things down a little bit, but it still manages to keep that technical element there. That it's kind of like it doesn't want to dumb it down too much to you. It's more respect for its audience than that.
And number 8, last week's number 1, so a big drop off for Spotlight.
Yeah, I'm surprised at that. The two of them were quite high up. Obviously, Spotlight was the number 1, but I mean they're both sort of big ensemble cast films. This is the one that won the best film, and it has a great performance cast from it. You have Mark Ruffalo, especially Michael Keaton, Rachel McAdam, Lee Schreiber, and it all comes together with this whole thing of them and this very difficult subject to show about a newspaper that investigated and found hundreds of cases of priests and molestation happening, and it's surprising that something that's covering something so dark, very much like Room did, which is not in the top 10 anymore, but having a film that covers a very, very dark subject manages to not be, it's not, I wouldn't say this is uplifting as Room is, but this is kind of manages to stay objectively and yet kind of distance itself from that, but still be honest about just how dark it is.
Number 7 is The Hateful Eight,
which I really like. I love the whole fact of it that it is filmed like a stage play. It is far too long though. It does have a long opening in the first sort of half hour, which doesn't need to be there really. It could have just all been set in kind of the stage play area feel of inside this shack that's there, and it would have been perfectly fine. I think it's got some great moments of good dialogue from Tarantino, because he is good at writing the dialogue and he doesn't stay away from that, and it is typical Tarantino. It gets very brutal at parts. It's rated 18 for obvious reasons, and it's a film though that Tarantino fans, as much as some of them may find it very slow paced and the running time stretches that out a bit, by the end of it most of them have enjoyed it, and I'm amongst them.
Number 6 is Creed,
which we really like because it was kind of like a new sort of invigoration reboot of the whole Rocky thing, while being connected to that and a spin-off with that, partly because of the fact that you've got not only the new character of Adonis, I think it was it? Yeah. Played by Michael B. Jordan, but you've got that connection to Rocky, and with him coming in basically as the sort of begrudging trainer, and the problems that he's having in his own life with sort of going into it as well. So you've got that, it's kind of like that way into it, but it then does have, a great performance from both of them, and it's one that even if you're not a massive Rocky fan, 'cause I'm not into the Rocky films, but I did like this.
Number 5 is Dirty Grandpa,
which I didn't like because it's just disgusting, horrible, really bad taste, filled with lots of horrible jokes, as they're saying. You can't see me, but air quotations, and it's taking the careers of two people, Robert De Niro and Zac Efron, and literally just flushing them down the toilet, along with a lot of the humour that's in the film. It's honestly one of the worst films of the year, if not the worst film of the year.
Number 4, Star Wars The Force Awakens,
which we've gone over so many times. It's great fun, brilliant. Even if you're not a massive Star Wars fan, you'll probably find something in it you enjoy.
Number 3 is A New Entry for Ride Along 2.
Which is the sequel which completely just doesn't live up to the first one at all. The first one had some laughs and that was it. This just is a whole thing of repeats it and then decides, oh wait a minute, we want to make loads and loads of money. So the first one was 15, we'll make this one a 12. And it's honestly just by the numbers sequel of just, yeah, we'll do this, it'll be big, it'll take loads of money, which it did, and it still is, unfortunately, because it's made it into the top 3. But it's just waste. Don't bother.
Number 2 is A New Entry for Snoopy and Charlie Brown the Peanuts movie,
which is admittedly a nostalgic
bit of a
film.
mouthful to say,
Yeah,
actually.
admittedly is a kind of nostalgic film, but it's a fun one, and I enjoyed it. And it's one that I think is more for the fans than it is for being an animated film for kids nowadays. I think kids nowadays will not get it, will not like a lot of it. They'll find it very slow paced, and a lot of the humour won't probably meld for them, for their kind of what kids are into now. But if you know, a child of the 70s and 80s, and you grew up watching Snoopy and Peanuts and everything on the TV, then it's got that perfect feel to it. The animation has been updated slightly, but it's not been changed, and the characters are all there, and the humour of them, and the style of storytelling in it is all there, and it's got some really great funny sequences with Snoopy and his imaginary aircraft battles.
And at number 1 is A New Entry for Goosebumps,
which I'm surprised at. I'm pleased it went to number 1. It is a great family film. It has kind of followed on that tradition of Jumanji films, where you have the whole thing of the family movie where, you know, all hell breaks loose and they have to fix it and get it back together. And it's got a good cast in there. Jack Black is good in there, and very weird, but doing this weird accent all the way through it. And it's a fun family film. It's not, you know, up there as one of the best films ever done, you know, sort of thing. It's you know, an average film at parts and slightly better than that, but it has got that fun family, stick it on a Sunday afternoon at, you know, 5 o'clock, and everyone will sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and at the end of it will go, I enjoyed that.
The way I look at it is it's sort of like the modern day Monster Squad. In a weird way.
Yeah, it is. It's got some nice things, and it's interesting because it's kind of changed the way that things are done with that genre by taking it and being, instead of being based on a book, it's based on the reality of a series of books.
Yeah, and it's multiple characters from those.
Yeah, it's basically it's a very meta sort of film.
Yeah, it's a few scary little bits and bobs in there for younger children, but it's still an entertaining enough film. Then the first film we're looking at Blu-ray DVD wise, definitely please don't show your children.
Yeah, that's not for kids.
Yeah, it's The Revenant, directed by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu. It was tipped to win the Best Picture at the Oscars, but that was actually beaten to it by Spotlight, which was a surprise winner. Sort of like, in a way, I think deserving.
Yeah, though it was deserving for another Oscar that it was.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, he was tipped to actually win it multiple times, but he never won it. Even though I didn't get on with Wolf of Wall Street as much as other people did, I think he should have won it for that over The Revenant. It centers around his character of Hugh Glass, and it's set in sort of like the wilderness of the 1800s, and he's a frontiersman. He's out there with these sort of like his group of people. They're out there to try and get food and clothing and things like that, trying to sustain the people that he lives with, trying to keep them alive. And unfortunately, you'll have seen the infamous bear attack. Multiple memes threw across the internet when the film got released in cinemas, and the kind of thing that the bear might have actually done with his character. But yeah, he gets brutally, and I mean brutally, attacked by a bear and left for dead by his posse. Not just that, also they decide to do something pretty nasty as well, which forces him to try and get as much energy together to try and trek all the way across the wilderness to sort of like seek redemption for him being left there for dead, and also a bad deed that happened against them. That's pretty much the basic storyline thrown in the mix. You've got Tom Hardy's character, who was supposedly a friend of Hugh Glass. He plays John Fitzgerald. And you've also got Domhnall Gleeson, who's like the captain of the group, and Will Poulter's character, who's sort of like, in a way, sort of like the child of the group. He seems to be less intelligent than everybody else, but his heart is in the right place. And the film, it does centres around Glass's character for redemption in multiple forms, and Leonardo DiCaprio does a brilliant job of it. It's a brutal, visceral kind of film. It's a nasty, grimy movie, and he actually threw himself into the part. He could not have actually done it any other way. If you did this sort of like on sets, it just wouldn't have the feel, it wouldn't have the impact, it wouldn't have the crunch of what the film actually shows. It needs to sort of like put the actor through his paces, and he sort of like stuck with it, and you can definitely tell he wanted to bring as much emphasis to the character as he possibly could, because you need to actually feel loads of different emotions while he's feeling them also. And so it's a brutal film from that point of view, and then it does fall into lots of very stereotypical tropes because it has a story to tell, a very simplistic story, and it needs to do those elements, and it does do them right. The redemption kind of thing, and the grime, and the backstabbing, and things like that. It does do them right, but I've seen it done better in other films, and so for me, that's the part that actually drags it down. But also, it has too much nastiness in a way. You can get the point where you've seen a lot and you just go, can you just give me like 10 minutes where you don't just throw mud in my face, and then all of a sudden you get mud thrown in your face again. So it just needed to calm itself down a little bit. You get that Alejandro Gonzalez in it who wanted to make a grimy, gritty kind of movie, but you didn't have to constantly give us that, and I wanted a bit more character development as well. It would have been helpful to see more character development in the other characters, the supporting characters, because they never have fully fleshed out characters at all. It always seems to be about Glass's plight. Overall, though, the film itself is definitely worth a watch, even also down to the cinematography, because the cinematography is just fantastic. You've got some absolutely brilliant vistas, but you've also got some close-up shots, which you need to do that as well, and I can't remember the cinematographer.
I'm not sure either.
Killed by you for not remembering this.
No, I can't think what his name is, but it's someone who he's very good at doing these sort of picturesque sort of scenery sort of settings, and basically taking like a canvas and putting it on screen.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look it up on IMDb.
Well, I mean, if you do that, well, I go through. I've got to say a few things about it. The big problem. Okay.
Emmanuel Lubezki.
Ah, yeah, okay. But the big problem that I have with the film, and I do think it is a breathtaking film in scope, in scale, in the vision of it, in the scenes of the brutality at some points. There's a great opening scene which is literally a 10-minute open shot, which is one shot of like a natives attacking the sort of the group, the posse there, and it's a one-shot thing that's interesting, that it follows the battle from one person to another to another to another, and that is really, as a breathtaking opening sequence that you get there, that's just brutal, and it gut punches you from the start. The one big problem that I still have with the film, and I've always had since I saw it, was the inconsistency throughout it, of that there's things that happen and the character seems to go through these problems and deal with issues, and then next minute they're fine, but then the next minute they're exhausted and they're injured, and that did take it out of me. That did take me out of the moment sometimes, where it had these slight inconsistencies in the character and the inconsistencies in the story as it went on, and things that I found that quite distracting. I really did find that distracting. In other films I may give that a pass, but in this one it really stood out. The one thing I would say as well is it's a film that you do need to see it on a bigger screen as you can. It will lose something watching it on a home DVD, Blu-ray, whatever you watch it on, the format. But if you've got a bigger screen, you can watch it to see it on, the better, because it does give you that. It's very much more engrossing. It is more an experience than a film.
Can I just throw this at you? I've just seen this as well. One of the executive producers was Brett Ratner.
He's not. I have nothing against Brett Ratner as a producer.
I just saw that there. When I was looking for Emmanuel Lubezki's name, I just saw Brett Ratner's name pop out under the executive producer.
Executive, yeah. I was going to say, is it producer or executive producer?
Executive producer, and I was looking, is that the Brett Ratner that... Oh, yeah, it is the Brett Ratner.
Yeah. It just basically means then that he helped to probably finance it or something in some way, or did something.
It's just I did not know he was involved with the film in some way, shape or form, but his just name popped out at me as soon as when I was looking for Emmanuel Lubezki.
Okay, going on to Concussion, which is directed by Peter Landsman, who also wrote the script. It's based on an article in GQ magazine, which is about this real character of Dr. Bennett Omalu, played by Will Smith in the movie. Is a man who comes from, I think it's Africa, I can't remember exactly where it is, but somewhere, I think in Africa. And it's about this doctor he's a man who's very educated, he's very much learned his way through several doctorates. He is as we meet him at the film, he is the pathologist and the coroner in New York when a body that's brought across his table, he does the autopsy on it, finds some disturbing sort of signs of brain trauma and problems to do with this person who apparently died very young sort of in their 20s 30s age, and had sort of the signs of problems of brain issues that you would expect to find in someone who is a 60-70 year old. He starts putting things together, including some other deaths that he's found, looking into things, and starts to find a startling connection. That is American football. Here's a clip.
The man in the middle is quite deceptively the most violent position on the field. The slaps, the punches, the forearm, it is an unremitting storm of subconcussive blows. The head as a weapon on every single play, of every single game, of every single practice, from the time he was a little boy to a college man, culminating in an 18-year professional career. By my calculations, Mike Webster sustained more than 70,000 blows to his head. Now, these men, these are the fastest. Now, their speed, multiplied by the speed of the men who hit them, the G-forces generated, equivalent to hitting them on the helmet with a sledgehammer. All of this triggered a cascading series of neurological events which unleashed killer proteins upon Mike Webster's brain. The tangles invading and strangling his mind from the inside out, like pouring wet concrete down kitchen pipes. As it hardens, it chokes the brain, leaving him unrecognizable, even to himself.
Can I just say that clip actually made me want to fall asleep?
It's not. I mean, it is kind of a very good film for showing the events of things and breaking them down. Very much kind of like the way that The Big Short does for the financial thing. And the thing is with Concussion is that we have this elements of it breaks things down and explains them and shows them, so you do understand what is going on. In that sequence there, we were listening to it, but you do see he's kind of drawing a diagram on a board, on a whiteboard, and it's laying out the whole thing of what's happening. But the problem is with the film is that it's about the character finding that out, and then the whole thing of because it's based on the true story of the man who found this out and then started to try and basically blow the whistle on this problem, and American football tried to shut him down. It had so many problems because of this. American football didn't want to do anything. There's a point where one person says to him, he ends up speaking to another doctor who used to work for the NFL, the National Football League in America, and played by Alec Baldwin, who then has left and realised that there is this problem. And he turns around to him and says, "What are you going to do? They own Sunday night in American television. They own that whole demographic sort of thing. They're that powerful sort of thing." The problem is that it sets up those things, and it never really feels like it pays it off. It never feels like it's like thinking back to the whole thing with the Russell Crowe film, The Insider, the one by Michael Mann, which was about a lobbyist and someone who found out and exposed the whole thing about the connection between smoking and lung cancer. And that turned into a really tense thriller of the problem of the threat situation of the character and what happened, and the struggle to get the truth out there and then be safe as a result of that. and this film never kind of goes the full length for that. It's not as if it plays it safe. It does have some moments in it, but it just feels as if it goes, well, that's enough, we've done that, we'll carry on with this bit, and it doesn't really delve deep into it where I wanted to. There was a whole thing when this was released at the Oscars, and the Oscars it wasn't nominated for anything, and if it was only for small categories, and there was this whole thing about Will Smith. There was a ruckus because people felt that he was ignored because of race, and I don't believe that's the case, because there was all of the films that were nominated for Best Actor, and Will Smith's performance, as good as it is in this film, and it's one of the best things of the film, it's never, I think, I never found it to be of that level that it was better than all the other nominations. I do think it's a good film. I do think it's a good drama. I did enjoy it. I would be hard pressed to watch it again and I think enjoy it more. It is a sort of a one watch thing, but it's a film which it does kind of set up a lot more things than it pays off, and it doesn't really, as I say, delve deep enough into the whole situation as I wish it would. So by the end of it, as much as it's a film that leaves you with a bit more questions at the end of it, that you're curious about it, it did make me want to go and look into it more. I basically went, okay, yeah, that was interesting, I could go and look at that, but here's something else, you know. It didn't engross me in it that much that I really wanted to look into it, as other films have done.
Well, by the sounds of the clip, it's definitely not making me want to watch it.
I didn't think it was a slow and boring film, but it's just that it's a very much setting up a lot of things and explaining a lot of things, and then just it doesn't pay it off with a lot of things happening. It is a drama, and it's not a drama thriller as it could be. It's just a drama.
Right, into the smaller area than of the DVD section of this week's show. First up, Go With Me. Now, Metrodome kindly sent me a DVD screener of it. We get them, don't we, when companies do send them out, and it's really nice when we do actually receive them. So, thank you to Metrodome for actually doing that. It's directed by Daniel Alfredson. Now, he directed the last two of the Dragon Tattoo trilogy. So he did with The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest and The Girl Who Played with Fire. The original two, anyway, because they're still not being made into American remix.
Yeah.
Even though there was always rumours that it might happen. I think it's probably a bit too late now to actually do it, but there's still a chance that it could happen.
Well, Daniel Craig's freed up, supposedly, if he doesn't do any more Bond films, so...
Yeah, and so, you never know, he might go, you know what, why not? Rooney Mara probably should, yeah, I might as well just play her character again. This one it's a small little drama. It centres in a small town, a modern day town. Julia Stiles plays Lillian. She's moved back to the town after moving away for quite a while. She's come back there to see if check on her mother. Her mother passes away, and so she ultimately wants to stay there. However, she gets hounded by this character who's just called Blackway. It's played by Ray Liotta, sort of like menacingly played by Ray Liotta. And so she goes to the police seeking help. They refuse to help her for some reason. When she actually mentions the name of the person, that is, they get scared. And so she goes to a group of people. Everybody in this group, apart from Anthony Hopkins' character and Alexander Ludwig's one, everybody just stands away. And so with the help of Hopkins and Ludwig's character, they decide to try and hunt down this Blackway, try to either stop him or find out exactly why he's doing what he's doing, why he's a menace to absolutely everybody in the town. During the film, we discover sort of why he's out to actually get Lillian, even though when you do find out what it is, he should have actually been definitely arrested for what he does. He's sort of like, people are scared of him, yet if they arrest him, everything would have stopped. That's sort of like the weakness of the film itself. If you understand when you watch these kind of films that the small little police force will be scared of certain characters because they have a big sort of like army behind him, when in fact in this movie he's only got a couple of henchmen behind him. And so you think to yourself, well, you must have enough police officers to either take him out properly or just lock him away, because there would be no way he would actually be able to get out of it if you lock him and his couple of henchmen. But they never do that, and so that's the problematic thing about the film itself. However, overall, it plods along at a decent pace. There is enough there to actually get your teeth into it. Nobody actually breaks very much of a sweat in the film, but still, they're not there to actually just cash in a paycheck. Anthony Hopkins is fine. He doesn't have very much to do, but he's fine. Alexander Ludwig, who we saw in the first Hunger Games film, he plays a character who, for some reason, doesn't realise he's got a speech impediment at times, because at times he's able to actually speak brilliantly. Then all of a sudden, I think he forgets that, oh yeah, my character's got a speech impediment, and then brings the speech impediment back. Julia Stiles, she's okay. It's not like Bourne kind of stuff, which we'll see here in the new Bourne film, Jason Bourne, in a couple of months' time. It's not that kind of good, but she's fine. And so the overall feel of the film is it's fine. Passes 90 minutes away, perfectly fine.
Okay, The 33, which is directed by Patricia Riggin. It's based on the true events that happened surrounding the Chilean miners that were trapped in an underground mine for nearly 70 days when the mine entrance collapsed on them. And you have in this sort of group of men that were there played sort of the main lead characters. You have Antonio Banderas in amongst there. You have I forget the name of the character now, the name of the actor. I don't have his name here. Lou Diamond Phillips, who's in there as well. So you have kind of a couple of recognisable names. They're sort of leading the acting group. You have this moment where the film sets up very quickly the opening of the men arriving at work. The mine seems to be fine. You get a good layout of the land, and then it all kind of hell breaks loose. There is a sequence which very well demonstrates the whole collapsing of the mine. It's a very nicely sort of handled and put together kind of, well, not action sequence, but a very good sort of disaster sequence. And you have all the characters are then find themselves trapped below ground, and obviously plays out the drama of the events that happened. Here's a clip.
This is all the food we have left to keep us alive. We have to ration it carefully. If we plan on surviving down here until we are rescued.
Rescued? Do you hear any drills? That's because they're not drilling for us. We're too far down. It took 100 years for them to dig this deep. How long do you think that's going to take? Do you think the owners are going to spend that kind of money? They didn't even finish the ladders! They'll wait 3 days. Then close the mine and put up the gravestones.
No. 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 No! I don't believe that! They'll dig us out. And if they don't, our families will. With their bare hands if it's necessary.
So you have that going on below ground, while above ground you actually have a little bit that focuses on the family of the men, and you have the sort of the families all sort of there at the gates while the mining company is trying to figure out a way to rescue these people, and they have the whole thing of the press turning up and that going on. You have Juliette Binoche, who is an unusual kind of casting in the role. I think she was a stand-in at the last minute for someone else that ended up leaving. I think it was going to be Jennifer Lopez, but couldn't stand in for some reason. And you have Rodrigo Santoro plays the sort of the head of the manager on site of the drilling company, who has to kind of deal with that situation. And it does kind of delve into that a little bit, but then it doesn't, again, same as you had with Concussion, it doesn't delve into that deep. And the problem I did have with the film is that the sequences that are down in the caves and the caverns, as much as there's a lot of potential there for it, it never really reaches it. It feels very kind of safe, and that it's almost kind of like a Disney film, that it doesn't want to push itself too much and have any darkness to it. As much as there's scenes that are all filmed in the dark and have very little light there to do it, and it is nicely filmed. It's nicely lit to the basics to show that and set that, and you have the actors are all there in dirt, and they're it's never becomes there's a whole bunch of actors in a cave. No, there's a bunch of men that are trapped in a cave. You feel it, but the problem is just that it's playing it too safe. it never really seems to get into the gritty and the nitty of it. You even have this whole thing of that it turns into a plot, a storyline of that. On the surface, there is one of the miners who's trapped in there. On the surface, has a wife, and everybody knows he has a mistress, and the two of them then meet and argue and fight, and it turns into a comedy thing. And you're sitting there thinking, this is funny, but should I be laughing at this? Is it really appropriate? Does it work? And I found myself just taking a step back from it because of that, and thinking too much about it rather than going with it and getting into it. And it's very much that, especially that last half of the film, that I thought going on for too long without much happening at all. The ending does have a nice sort of tension building to it, and I think it handles that well, but it's just, I wish there had been more of that kind of tension in the middle of the film.
For me, it just, to be honest, this sounds really harsh with the film itself, but it feels like it's making a farce of actually what happened. It feels like it wants to take the source material and just, in a way, not even understand what the source material was about, not understand about the plight of the miners inside of the mine. And just, if you heard in that clip there, the dialogue, it sounds more comical rather than being serious. It's just the way it's actually said, the way Antonio Banderas and Lou Diamond Phillips is actually delivering the comment, what they're actually saying there. Because I made this comment during that clip that Antonio Banderas does sound a lot like Puss in Boots, and then as soon as you heard Lou Diamond Phillips, he sounds like Puss in Boots. They don't sound like miners that are trapped down there. And then you've got the stuff on the surface which doesn't seem to fit with what's actually happening down below. It feels like it's two different movies conflicting against each other. Like the director sort of like had ideas for two versions of the film, and instead of trying to flesh one of the versions out, decided to just meld them together and thinking, yeah, that's about as best as you're going to get. When in fact, there are documentaries out there which is much more fascinating about what these 33 miners went through, and there's a better film to be made for them. It sort of like gives it a bad light, so it's completely forgettable, really forgettable film, when it should have been a movie that added a bit more impact about what occurred.
Yeah.
During the time down there.
Yeah, it would have been nice if it could have done that, but it's not a bad film. It is very kind of just average in the middle. Meh, okay, fine, but it needed to aim a bit higher, really.
Yeah. Final film of the week. Quick review of Intruders, or it's known as in America Shut In, because there was a film called Intruders released a few years ago, starring Clive Owen,
and a TV series.
Yep. But this one, it's also a horror film directed by Adam Schindler. It centers around the character of Anna. She's got agoraphobia. She can't, even though it's only actually alluded to twice in the entirety of the film. She's got agoraphobia. She lives with her brother. Her brother passes away. She's got tons of money, and a carer who keeps on coming to the house one day sort of like alludes to these three guys that she's got tons of money in there. So these three guys thinks it's a brilliant idea to sort of like break into the house, take her captive to try and get the money. However, what they don't realise is there is something sinister about Anna. She has a secret. The film itself is very bog standard, very mundane. When the secret's revealed, you go, yeah, I could guess that. That was simple. And the film itself never deviates from you going, I guess she was going to do that, and I knew she was going to do that. And it just becomes a I know what's going to happen kind of movie. You guess absolutely everything what's going to happen 5 minutes down the line. And it annoys me, those kind of films, because the whole point of a film is for you not to do that. You need to be surprised. You need to actually, when you're watching horror movies like this, you need to be able to turn around the corner and think that you're going to turn right when in fact you're actually turning left. And in this way, it's not that the fact that you're turning right, it's got big massive neon signs going, yes, she's going to do that. You know she's going to do that, and she does. So it's not terrible. I've seen much worse movies, home invasion films. It adds the idea of the agoraphobia to it, but never actually fully utilises it, because it's only actually shown twice during the entirety of the film. The first time actually works for the film, the second time is completely pointless, because then it actually blows the agoraphobia just away. It just goes, yeah, she had it, now it's gone. So the rest of the film is just sort of like a revenge flick, and it's It's not like nasty as like I Spit on Your Grave or those kind of films, but it's not as interesting as those kind of films either.
Okay, that's it for this week's new releases. We'll go quickly on to this week's TV movies.
I have 3.
Yeah, I've got 3 as well, although a couple of them on the same night. So you want to go through yours first?
No, you might as well do yours.
No, because I've actually written down the name of 2 wrong, so I need to check them while you're doing that.
Well, mine are this weekend. So the first one is on Channel 4, Saturday the 11th, so very early in the morning of Saturday 11th, late Friday night.
Which we've picked the same one.
At 1:45 a.m.
Yeah.
Magic.
Yep.
Okay, then so we did pick the same one. I really like this film.
I have picked the film that's before that as well, though.
It's a movie that came out of nowhere. It's a movie that very few people have actually seen, but it's a very creepy little film, and it's on a really dodgy time. But that's what PVRs are for. That's what 4 on demand is for. The on-demand services. If the film's on there, then definitely give it a watch. On the Horror Channel on Saturday at night at 9 o'clock is Screamers. I have a soft spot for Screamers. It's just when you see the last shot of the film itself with the teddy bear. I couldn't wait for a sequel, and it took something like 12-13 years for a sequel to surface, and the sequel is awful.
The first film was pretty awful, though.
They actually bundled the original film in with it.
The first film was actually pretty awful, though, as well.
I actually quite like it. I have a soft spot for it. It's one of those cheesy kind of science fiction horror films that I throw on every now and again and watch and go, you know what? It's not bad. But my pick of the week, and it's a slightly obvious one. It's on the Horror Channel as well, on Sunday the 12th at 9 o'clock, which is probably when we're on air, if not when we've just finished. Pan's Labyrinth. The Guillermo del Toro Pan's Labyrinth. Anytime when Pan's Labyrinth on, it definitely needs to be seen. It's a very, very, very hard watch, but it is one of the most important films to be made in the last 15 years. It's absolutely outstanding.
Okay, the movies I'm going to give a bit of a shout out to, because we've got I also had picked Magic, but I've got before that on the same night, so that's on at 1:45 a.m. Friday night the 10th, Saturday morning the 11th, and that's at 1:45. Before that, though, at 12:10 is Source Code, which obviously Duncan Jones we're talking about, directing Warcraft, and this is his previous film, which is with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's a really good. It's not even a long film, but it's a really good kind of sci-fi twist, sort of mystery thriller, and I really do like that film. The other one I've got noted down is we've got which my real choice is Zombieland, which is on Saturday the 11th at 11:35 p.m. on Channel 4. And so I mean that's the one. It's a great comedy thing. The whole thing of zombies, as much as it's become very commonplace now and stuff, this was the one that with Jesse Eisenberg just managed to make it particularly comical at times, and the humour of the characters, and some great comical cameos as well. In particular, one with Bill Murray, which just cracks me up every time I see it. I'm also going to mention, as much as I haven't seen it, but it does seem to be getting a premiere quite shown on Film 4 on Sunday the 12th at 11:05 p.m. So it should be after we've done that week's show, because we're doing the show on Sunday. Is a film called Powder Room. It's a British film with Sheridan Smith and Jamie Winston in it. And it does look as if that's getting quite a quick release, because it's one of these Film 4 produced films. So I mean that's something talking point as well. You can raise with Stuart. I'm sure he'll bring it up on the British show when he does that. So that's one to maybe watch out for and have a look at. Okay, so as usual, some shout outs and information about where you can find us if you don't already know. You can find us on the web at mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, Twitter at Monday Movie Show, and Stuart's on there himself at Cryptic Tadpole. I'm on there at AHDVD, and there is, as you heard, the advert during the show. From page 2, the number 2 screen.com has a few podcasts, the horror one of which you're on as well, which is that filming next week?
No, we did one last
week. Yeah.
Or, a couple of weeks' time when the next one is.
I always get it mixed up when you film it because it obviously takes a few days in to get because they
Once a month.
They don't do this live. They do it. They record it and then it's edited and then put out.
Stuart doesn't do any of them live.
No. And there's also followingthenerd.com, which we're involved in, and we the show gets put up on there every week after it's been done by Mark, and we also are involved a bit on the site as well. So check that out. You will find most anything news related to movies and big sort of sci-fi things, nerd things, as the title suggests, will be on there too. Also Following the Gamer, which is going to have a big sort of things going on the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason why we're moving the show next week is because E3 kicks off next Sunday night at 9 o'clock. So Following the Gamer is actually going to be involved with E3. We're going to have a show either on the Tuesday or Wednesday, going over each one of the press conferences, and then we're going to have a show on the Saturday, going over the rest of the show and what we picked to be game of the show and all that kind of stuff as well. So I'm going to be knackered by the end of that week.
So be sure to listen to that and hear Stuart slowly lose his marbles over that week.
Me, Shane and Al, the ball gamer dude.
So that's it for this week's show. Before we finish, movie of the week.
It's a hard one for me this week because nothing stands out, so I'm just going to cop out and go see Warcraft again.
I'm saying The Nice Guys, and I think you should go and see it as well if you get a chance, because you won't get a chance after the E3 thing starts.
Yeah, or if you've got a chance in the cinema, you want to go see one yesterday.
So that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to us. If you've been listening live, or if you're listening to us on any of the other streaming places and download places that you can find us, give us some feedback. You can reach us at any of those details on there, as well as email us at mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. We're going to leave you with a clip of a movie from next week's show, which is The Boss, the Melissa McCarthy movie, which has her as a woman who ends up going to prison for financial fraud, and ends up coming out and thinking that she can basically rebuild her empire selling Girl Scout cookies.
Can I just say before we go, you can probably guess what my movie of the week's going to be next week, so it's a bit pointless me actually trying to see what it is next week, because you know what it is.
Yeah. I'm not saying it, you say it, because I'm not having anything to do with a certain studio. I'm not saying it.
Yeah, you'll eventually have to watch one.
I've watched some before. I'm just not.
You've
I'm
never
not giving
reviewed
you.
one on the
I'm
show.
not giving you the satisfaction.
You've never reviewed one on the show.
Have I not?
No, you've never reviewed one on the show.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to review when Money was there at the end of the year, but you can guarantee it's my movie of the week next week.
Yeah, unless it's really, really bad.
No, I've already seen it.
No. Anyway, this is a clip from The Boss. We'll see you on Sunday, possibly around about 7 or 7:30. But keep an eye on mondaymovieshow.co.uk for an update to that when we have confirmed the time.
Yep.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
If your breasts could speak right now, I think they'd be saying, Claire, please don't zip me up in your jeans. You're going to zip a nipple.
That's not what they'd say.
May I adjust your strap? Because I'm trying to help you, Claire. You say be more helpful, and I'm trying to be helpful.
Tighten the strap.
Okay. Just a little.
Because I want.
What is that toggle?
Oh, it's a nursing bra.
Oh my God. Are you still nursing Rachel?
No, it's from when she was a baby, but it's very comfortable.
It's not comfortable to see. Now, let me see this. It's very often a fit issue. Why do these have so much
All right, well,
Claire, it's like Geppetto.